Hello, this is Shannon with Waffle Flower Crafts. First, I'd like to say thanks to Simon Says Stamp for having me here today to share with you a card made with our newest products released this March. First up, I have the Stitched Cacti stamp set. It's a cross-stitch stamp set that is a layering stamp set as well. Super fun. And then I'm also using today this Patched Layers die set. So also those are just two of the new products from our spring release. Alright, so here I have a piece of white cardstock that I've cut to 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to pull out the largest die from the Patch Layers die set, and I'm going to die cut this rectangle. This die set cuts this awesome stitched edge. Super fun and works really well with all the cross-stitch stamp sets that we have coming out in this spring release. I'll hold up here to the camera so you can see. Look at that. So cute. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the stamp set. Again, this is the Stitched Cacti stamp set. It has a cross-stitch look. I pulled off the largest cactus. It's a layer stamp set, so this cactus has a second layer that goes with it. For this first layer, I'm just going to ink it up with cracked pistachio distressed oxide. Sorry. And I'll just stamp it down there. And then I'm going to use Mowed Lawn Distressed ink. I'll put a little piece of white paper underneath so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to ink up the lower portion of this stamp. And this, once I stamp it, it'll create this gradation. So it'll have a darker look at the base of the cactus. Just add some nice depth to the image. I'm just going to use my finger here just to kind of soften that transition between the mowed lawn and the cracked pistachio. It's going to create a smoother transition between the two colors. And I'll stamp it down here, and then you'll get to see that awesome gradation that that technique does. Pull it up here so you can see. Look at that. Really, really pretty. Add some nice detail to your image. So I did that on both cactuses. So I just stamped that cactus again and then did that same gradation treatment to it. Okay, so now I want to share with you how I get my layer stamps to line up perfectly. Okay, so this is the acetate that the stamp set comes on. I just removed all the stamps and put it onto the back acetate for right now. I'm using this acetate, I'm lining it up directly into the negative space where the stamp should go. Once I have it all lined up here, I will put the stamp directly on top of all those little X's. Line it up perfectly here. This just helps because the stamps are clear and it can be tricky to kind of see if it's lined up in the negative spaces. So when you line it up on top of that acetate, it just really, you use the acetate as a guide, it just really helps. Okay, so for this second layer, I'm just going to use that Mowed Lawn Distressed ink again. And I will actually ink it up and stamp it twice just so I have a really nice, bold, crisp image. One more time here. Stamp it down. And that is it. Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time for you so you can see how I get that all lined up here. So I am positioning it. This is the second layer for this big cactus. And I'm positioning it in the negative space of the first layer. Lining all those X's up, all lined up nice and straight. And then I'll pull out, once I got it all right, I'll pull out the stamp and I'll just line the stamp directly on top of the X's. And you can kind of see when it's all lined up, like all of a sudden the X's are really bolder and darker, and that's kind of how you know you've got the X's of the stamp lined up directly on top of the X's printed on the acetate. Okay, pull that off. And I'm going to ink this up in the same manner. I'm going to do Mowed Lawn again, and I'm going to just stamp it twice. And again, this will just make it nice and bold and crisp. One more time here. And then I'll stamp it. And there we go. So there's my finished cacti, sorry. Now I'm going to stamp the little pot that the cacti that comes with the set. So see the little pot there? And I'm just going to use, even though I'm not layering this stamp set, but just to kind of help so I get it that pop directly under the cactus, I'm using my acetate there to help me position my stamp. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I will ink it up and stamp it twice. There we go. And now I'll clean that up, and I'll move the pot to the second cactus. Alright, position it underneath there with the acetate again. I put a little piece of white cardstock underneath the other portion of the acetate just because I used that VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and it can stay wet for a little bit longer, and I didn't want to smear my ink catching on the acetate and smearing and moving around, so it's just a little, I was just being cautious. Alright, stamped it twice. Now I'm going to do the face. So it comes with 3 cute little faces, 3 little expressions. I'm going to use that little smile, and I'm kind of angling it and having it facing the other cactus, so eventually both cacti will look like they're looking at each other. And I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black again. And so here's the other cactus, and I'm just having that face kind of angled towards the other cactus so the cacti look like they're looking at each other. Eventually I'll get a sentiment created, and it'll say hugs, so it'll look like they're a little couple. Alright, so here's there's a little birdie in this stamp set. That's the beak and feet right there. There's his eye. I'm going to start with the beak and feet, and I'm going to use my acetate again to help me position this because I want this little bird to sit right on top of, directly on top of that cactus's arm. So I'll line it up here, and then I will stamp it. Sometimes I use my tweezers to help me line things up because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes those stamps stick to my fingers, and I find they stick less to the tweezers. But I didn't actually have to use them. Alright, so I'm going to use Oh Happy Day Waffle Flower dye ink to stamp the beak and feet for this little bird. It's a really pretty yellow-orange color. And then I'll clean it up, and then I will stamp that little bird's body. Use my acetate again to kind of help me position it. This is just a great tip for positioning not just layered stamp sets, but all your stamps, you know, just can help you do position for lots of your stamp sets. And if you don't want to use the acetate, you don't want to pull off all your stamps off the acetate that your stamp set came on, you can stamp on acetate yourself with Stays On ink. That'll be permanent. It'll stay on that acetate, and you can make your own little templates for your layering stamp sets to help you position. Alright, so I've got my little bird there all lined up. I'm going to ink him up with Tickled Pink Waffle Flower dye ink. I'm going to do it twice just so I have it's a very light shaded pink, and I want it to be a little bolder, so I'm going to stamp it twice. Now I'm going to use Worn Lipstick Distressed Oxide, and I'm going to ink up his belly, and I'm going to do that gradation like I did with the cactus. I'm going to ink up his belly there. Sorry, that ink pad is large, so it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing, but you can see there how I inked it up, and then I'll just use my finger again to kind of soften that transition. If you don't want to use your finger, you don't want to get your finger dirty, you don't have to. You can use like a little wipe. I just find my finger is a little bit more precise, so that's why I like to use my finger. And there we go. So that birdie has a little bit of a transition, so his belly looks a little darker, looks a little rounder. And now I'm going to move on and do his little eye. So I just pulled off that eye. I'm just going to stamp the eye with an acrylic block. I just find that's just a little bit easier to do. Sometimes it's hard to get those little teeny tiny stamp sets to stay put when you fold over your Misty, so to pick it up. Alright, so there I'm just going to stamp that eye down. I use VersaFine Onyx Black again, and that's it. So now I'm going to move on to my last stamped image, which is the heart. I'm going to, this is just a scrap of white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp my heart first with this My Pleasure Waffle Flower dye ink, and I will stamp it ink it up and stamp it 3 times just so I have a really nice dark really rich red color. So talk about the stitched stamp sets that are coming out this March. We have this Cacti stitch stamp set, but we also have 3 other cross-stitch stamp sets. We have a unicorn, which is super cute. Roses, really beautiful, really intricate layering. And then the final cross-stitch stamp set is a tea themed set. So really fun cross-stitch stamp sets coming out. You definitely want to check those out. So I'd used Fire Brick distressed ink here. Just inked it up and then used my finger to soften the transition. Just inked up the left side of this heart, and then so that heart kind of has that gradation look again too. So you can see that it's darker on the left side. Really pretty. And now I'm going to fussy cut this heart out. So because this heart is a like cross stitch pattern kind of heart, it's basically straight lines. So I'm going to just cut out the outside edges first, cut those off, and then I will go in like I'm doing right there and kind of cut those little squares out. And I'm just using the edge of my scissors, lining the edges of my scissors up, the blade of my scissors up with the straight lines in that heart, you know, around the X's. And this is actually really easy to do. It looks like it could be really tricky, but it's actually really simple to do. And I'm almost all the way around here. So in addition to the cross-stitch stamp sets, the 4 cross-stitch stamp sets, we also have some beautiful Flora Kitty or Flora Cat stamp sets coming out. They were illustrated by Flora Waycott, and they are just gorgeous. I'm really having fun with watercoloring these stamps, these kitties, or just embossing them with like gold. They're just beautiful. And then we have another two Big Bear and Bird stamp sets coming out. We had a couple sets come out in our winter release, but in our spring release we're going to have 2 more. One is going to be a kitty stamp set. It's called Hello Stamper, and then we have a super cute bear, which is called Happy Day stamp set. So you want to check out all our stamps. Okay, so I'm ready to assemble this card here. I've got my panel, my stamped panel. I'm just adding some Tombow mono adhesive permanent tape onto the back. This is a 5x7 card base, and I did cut a 5x7 piece of red cardstock and glued that onto the front of my card base. And now I'm just adhering my stamped panel. And like I said, I did stamp the sentiment. I stamped it on a little strip of black cardstock. Hugs is one of the sentiments that come with this stitched cacti stamp set, and that sentiment just cracks me up with these cactuses. I just think that's so funny. There's also yay and howdy sentiments that come with this stamp set. And there's that heart that I fussy cut out. I just added some foam tape to the back and removed the backing. And now I'm going to adhere that between those 2 cacti. And this card will be done. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, showing you this card that showcases the newest products released by Waffle Flower coming this March. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.